Dylan, give us the quick overview. How do you calculate how would you kind of go about some rule of thumb stuff for calculating property taxes on the Big Island?
The first thing, and I guess the Hawaii County property tax people aren't as smart as Maui because ours is way simpler to understand. So the first thing is they confuse you by doing this like, you know, $11 per $1,000 of tax assessed value. Really, you just move the decimal point one time to the left and it's a percentage now, right? So if you want to think about it like how normal people think about taxes, it's a percentage. So on all of these numbers over here, you just move it one time to the left. So for example, the residential rate there, the second one down, if you go one time to the left, it becomes 1.11% or 1.3, what is that, 6%. So that's the one kind of confusing thing is for the Big Island, there's two different rates based on the valuation. So if it's under $2 million, you pay that 1.11%, but the portion above $2 million, you pay that 1.36%. So that means if you have a $2.5 million house, you pay the one rate on the $2 million, and then on the $500,000, you pay the higher rate. That's kind of new. They did that last year, I believe. But really for the Big Island, you have all of these different rates, but there aren't like short-term rental, long-term rental, all that stuff. It's either you pay the residential rate, which means it's not owner-occupied, or you pay the homeowner rate, the one all the way at the bottom, number 9, and that means you do owner-occupy it. So if you owner-occupy it, you get a $180,000 exemption off the assessed value, plus you pay the lower 0.615%. So it's almost half, the tax rate is almost half as if you pay the full residential rate. And you pay that full residential rate, doesn't matter how you're using it, short-term rental, long-term rental, second home, whatever. As long as you're not your primary residence, you pay that residential rate. So those are the two that'll affect most people. All this other stuff, industrial, commercial, you're usually not going to be affected as a consumer unless you're a business owner and own that type of property. But yeah, that's kind of the short rundown on property taxes on a Big Island. They're not that complicated, but the important thing to understand is, one, like Heidi said, how are you going to use it? Because that's going to affect the rate. And looking at a property online today and you see what the property tax rate is doesn't mean it's going to be your property tax rate. So you do want to figure out, okay, how am I going to use it? And the assessed value is almost always going to go up once it sells, because that's one of the things. Assessed value very much lags the market. So you could be looking at $1 million house that's assessed at $600,000 that has a homeowner's exemption on it, and so the taxes may be like $1,200 and look really cheap, right? But then if you buy it at $1 million and then you're going to use it as a second home, now you're going to pay 1.11% on a valuation that's going to be closer to $1 million, because they're going to reevaluate that soon after the property sells. So your tax rate could be $10,000, right? It could go from $1,200, but today to $10,000 when you actually take ownership of it.
That's a really good point. You really got to look at how it's going to be evaluated and what the rates.